What's good, YouTube? It's Rico here, and I have a deck profile for Shaddoll Invoked that I took to the Team YCS in Las Vegas over the weekend. I just got back like this morning at like 7 a.m., so I just passed out for most of the day. So the reason I came to decide to play this, since the beginning of the format, I've kind of just messed around with a bunch of different decks. This is the first format in a while where I went in having no idea what I wanted to play, because, you know, the past like good year or so, I've been playing either like some variant of Thunder Dragon or some variant of Orcust, and you know, Thunder Dragon, in my mind, got straight fucking murdered without Colossus. Like, I know that like a Thunder Dragon deck that just like turboed out Titan top 32, like YCS Utrecht or something, but I was never really interested in that. And then like Orcust is still playable, and I kind of keep it on my radar, but the way I like to play it, which was like the more combo oriented focus, doesn't really work without a harp. Like, you can still play a mid-range strategy, but I've always preferred like the combo focus of Orcust, and it just doesn't work without harp. So I tried Lunalight at the beginning of the format, but I was never really completely on board with it. I got Magician's Souls and switched to Spiral, but then Shaddoll happened. The one guy won that, like, the card market championship in France, and that kind of put it on my radar. And then the structure deck cards came out, and like the structure deck was always that thing. It was like, okay, I'll look at this when Master Rule 5 comes out. It seems it'll be a lot better when we get that. But just playing around with it, I was like, holy shit, this is actually just really good. And I played Shaddoll when it first came out in 2014, so I already like have an attachment to this deck. I really like the way it plays, and just playtesting and playtesting and playtesting, I was like, you know what? I don't care whether or not this is better than Spiral. This is just way more fun. So I decided to play it. It worked out mostly well. We ended up going 4-3. There were 7 rounds. We lost rounds 1, 6, and 7. A lot of them were critical misplays on my part. This deck is really hard to play. Like, it has such a absurdly high skill ceiling, so a lot of the mistakes were my own. I mean, that's just how it is. Our team, I played this. A friend of mine played a near exact copy of this. The only difference was like 1 card in the main and 3 cards in the side. And then our last friend played Spiral. But yeah, overall went really well. My matchups specifically were round 1. I played against Magical Musket, and I got destroyed because they have their like Dancing Needle card or whatever, the trap that banishes 3 from the graveyard, and that just like screws this deck over because it's so graveyard focused. And then I played against 2 Ultrageists in a row and beat both of them. I thought that matchup was gonna be a lot harder, but honestly, Shaddoll just kind of picks it apart because like they match Ultrageists in like card advantage. Like, Ultrageist thrives off of simplifying the game state, and Shaddoll just pluses off of everything. That they kind of like, you just can't out resource Shaddoll if they play it properly. And then Winda just hoses Multi-Faker. So yeah, and then Purgatrio can hose Conqueri if it's backed up by Construct, which is how I won against the second guy. And then I played against 2 hero decks, and that matchup was a lot harder than I thought it would be, just because Darklaw is a thing, and like they have the means to out Winda with, like, you know, just like summon hero, search Honest Neos. So yeah, I know I lost to one of them. I don't remember if I beat the other one or not, but we did win the second round of that. And then the last 2 rounds I played 2 Spiral decks, and I'm pretty sure I beat the first one, and then I lost to the second one, and that was like the deciding match. And yeah, I had a killer headache by that point, so I wasn't too upset about losing. But yeah, anyway, let's just get into this. Alright, so for Shaddoll monsters, I played... Oh god, I just moved the webcam. So we played 3 Wendy. She is probably the best one. She's, like... I don't know, Wendy solved so many problems this deck had. Like, just being able to set any Shaddoll from your deck face down is so insane, because it makes all the other Shaddoll decks, or all the other Shaddoll monsters' flip effects actually relevant. At least, especially combined with like the trap card, that can just flip any Shaddoll monster. Just basically, you can access any of the flip effects when you need to, which is absolutely insane. And just even setting a Shaddoll Beast applies so much pressure. Like, I don't know, like, she really did just fix so many problems that I had. And let me lose that a little bit. And her being wind is also really useful because it gives you access to invoke Raijin, which Raijin plus Winda in a lot of ways is stronger than Winda Caliga, just because like Raijin's gonna book whatever's gonna deal with Winda, and then it's a lot harder of a board to super poly because Winda Caliga can just super poly into a Winda. Winda Raijin, the only commonly played card that you're gonna be able to super poly into is Invoke Elysium, which I don't even know how many people were playing that. I didn't because it was like my 16th card and I was playing it mostly as a super poly target, and I was like, you know what, if someone makes Winda Raijin against me, I'll just take the loss because it's a less common setup than Winda Caliga. But yeah, this was really good. I'm definitely glad I played 3 of it. I was for a while playing Emergency Teleport, so I was effectively playing 4, but what I didn't like about Emergency Teleport is that because Invocation can only fuse from hand if you're not making an invoked monster, that kind of just made Emergency Teleport worse sometimes, because sometimes you're just going to fusion someone with Invocation. So yeah. And then I played 3 Squamata. He is also the best Shaddoll monster because he is every Shaddoll monster, or he's every Shaddoll card, actually. So, like, I don't know. I messed around with the Shaddoll ratios a lot, you know, 2s of, 3s of, 1s of. I always kept Squamata at 3 just because he is every other Shaddoll card, and I think that's just really important. And, like, if you use him or Wendy and a light monster to make Construct, and you use, like that's just, like, a really, like, full combo where, like, you end on, like, Cross Sheep and, like an El Shaddoll fusion in hand and, like, negates and shit, and it's really good. So, yeah. And then for other Shaddolls, I went pretty hard in Shaddoll numbers. I played 3 Beasts, 3 Hedgehog, and 2 Dragon. So, this was the ratio I messed around with a lot. I was originally doing, I was like 1-1-1, and then like 2 Beasts, 2 Hedgehog, 1 Dragon. I ended up playing this many Shaddolls because before this I was playing Magician's Souls, because it's just like a generically good card. It's like a body. It's actually 2 fusion materials for the Winda Caliga play, which is huge. And like, but the thing I didn't like about Magician's Souls, at least in the way I built the deck, is that a lot of times, like, there were some times where it was just insanely good, and then there are other times where it was just like average. And usually in the hands where it was insanely good, those hands were like not good hands. Or there were hands where I opened like Meltdown and like multiples of like fusion spells, which again would be not that good. So I felt like I would prefer having just like more Shaddoll names to do Shaddoll plays, and it really did pay off a lot. Beast especially was really good to see in like 3 copies of, because like you can use it and then you also set it off of Wendy. I set Beast a lot off of Wendy, and that was just a really insane play. Hedgehog just being like, just giving you more resources. Like, the biggest thing is that in the past, running 15 Shaddolls was completely unheard of, because like that was just really bricky, and you only had access to like 2 fusion summons a turn. With the invoked cards, you fusion summon a lot, and because of that, it's just better to have a lot of Shaddolls. And like the Winda Caliga play does require you you have to open Alistair, a fusion spell, and either 2 Shaddolls or a Hedgehog. So like just having the extra Shaddolls just makes that play a lot more likely. So yeah, I'm definitely glad I maxed out Beast and Hedgehog. Dragon, that was more just like I had spot for one more card. It could have been anything else. I just put in Dragon because I figured like if I really had a problem with back row, just having 2 Dragon would be nice. I never needed both Dragons. It could be any other card. Like it could be like, you know, it could be Shaddoll Hound if I was like really scared of Baguska. Hound deals with that because it switches it to attack position. It could be, there's another card in my deck I only played 2 of. I could bump that to 3, which I might actually do. So yeah. But yeah, this wasn't bad. And then the last card I played was Ariel. I think I used her banish effect like a couple times. It didn't really come up as much as you would expect it would. I mostly used her just for the combo with like Wendy, Light Monster, and Fusion Spell, which was like, it's a really good combo, like honestly. And yeah, I mean, I did use it to banish cards a couple times. I banished like all 3 Ultrageist monsters in my opponent's graveyard one time, which didn't really do anything, but it was just kind of funny. You can also, if you do a play where you use Alistair to grab an invocation, but you use that invocation to make a Shaddoll, if you fuse with Aerial later, you can banish your own Alistair, and then you can put it back in your hand with invocation. So that didn't come up in the tournament, but it did come up in playtesting, so that's just something to keep in mind. But yeah, that's all the Shaddolls. It's 15, like I said. All of them are 3-0s except for the Dragon and Aerial, which is 2-1, so it just adds up to 15. Yeah, I think the high Shaddoll count makes sense in Invoke, where you have so many fusion spells at your disposal. And then 3 Alistair. The Invoked engine is just so crazy in this deck. I think the Invoked engine also solved a lot of problems this deck used to have, which was just not having access to a fusion spell, because before you only had Shaddoll Fusion and El Shaddoll Fusion. Super Poly was banned. And the only other way you saw more fusion spells is like if you did like the Rhoda Blazeman polymerization thing that like Pat Hoban did at the end of like Duelist Alliance era, which in my opinion was a really good idea. But yeah, like the Invoked package is 9 more fusion spells because you have 3 Alistair, 3 Meltdown, you even have Terraforming, so it's actually 10, and then like 3 Invocation. So like you're 94% chance to open a fusion spell, and naturally I still sometimes didn't because I am the 6%. And then even just like having access to the entire like the Invoked suite of fusion monsters is really good. Alistair boosting attack is really good. Like I don't know, this engine does so much for the deck. Like this and Wendy really just solved a lot of issues Shaddoll had. So yeah, I definitely think this is the best version of the Shaddoll. But it's also really expensive, so if you didn't already have the Invoked engine, that might be rough. Alright, and the last monsters that I played in the deck were the Perform Mages. I played 3 Damage Juggler and 2 Trick Clown. I was originally on 3 and 3 because I really like these cards, and I ended up cutting to 2 Trick Clown because they are kind of cloggy in multiples, and I just had to cut a card. But Trick Clown is a card I might bump to 3 in lieu of the second Dragon. Just because these cards were really good. For one, they're kind of easy side outs because if you're going first, and you know you're playing as a deck that will just get like hosed by Winda Caliga or Winda in general, then you don't really need these cards. And over time you will eventually get access to them. So like if you're siding, you can just take out 2 of the Damage Jugglers and just like keep these 3 in, and like that's good for sideboarded games. But these guys are really good because the thing with the Winda Caliga play and anything involving like the Invoke plays is you have to open Alistair, and there's only 6 of them in the deck, well, 7 with Terraforming, so you're not always going to open them. I think it's like a 65% chance to open them, but like Damage Juggler and Trick Clown, not only are they just like constant bodies and resources, which is something like Shaddoll thrives off of, it just thrives off of maintaining cards. But like the construct play where you like light Wendy, El Shaddoll Fusion, or just a fusion spell in general, is just such a powerful play. Yeah. For those that who don't know what the play is, I'll just run through it. Like, you fuse those monsters in the construct. Wendy sets Aerial. Construct dumps the trap card Resh Shaddoll Incarnation. You make Cross Sheep. You banish Construct with Resh to flip Aerial. You summon Construct. Construct dumps whatever you need. And then Cross Sheep brings something back. And then there's like a bunch of things you can do from there. So yeah, so I don't know. I really like these cards. I'm definitely glad I didn't shave them down. So yeah. Yeah, that's all the monsters. I think it was like 23 or something. Something like that. Alright, so spells, fusion spells. 3 Shaddoll Fusion. This card's nuts. I don't actually know how many games I fused from deck with this. I know it happened, but it really wasn't often, which I found surprising. I think a lot of people just, it was either I didn't see it, or people just, scoop before I get to that point. I don't know. 3 El Shaddoll Fusion has been, is currently, and probably always will be the better of the 2 fusion spells in the case of Shaddoll itself. Just being quick play is nuts. 3 Invocation. 3 is definitely correct for this deck because you don't ever hate seeing multiples of this. So drawing it in Alistair is not bad. 3 Meltdown to start the Invocation. So I actually had a situation where someone tried to negate my fusion spell, and Meltdown stopped it. And that actually won me the game, because it was against the second Altergeist player, and he had burned most of his resources, and I activated El Shaddoll Fusion, and he chained Solemn Judgment. And he was at 7,900 life points, so I said, okay, you're down to 3,950, and because of Meltdown, El Shaddoll Fusion walks. So I made a Winda, and then I activated Invocation. I made Winda under like an Almirage, and then I tributed the Almirage for his effect. I activated Invocation to make Purgatrio, and I swung for game. So that was great. And then to go with the Invocation or the Meltdown, I also played Terraforming. I was on and off with this card because I ran the numbers on it, and the likelihood that you're going to draw Terraforming in general is already kind of low, but the likelihood that you're going to draw Terraforming and not also draw Meltdown or Alistair is pretty low. Like, it's like 50-50 between the two scenarios. It's like 6% you're going to draw it with him, or 6% you're going to draw without him. So like half the time you draw Terraforming, it's going to be an excess card. And because of that, I was kind of not wanting to play it. But playing Terraforming means you're effectively running 7 Alistairs, and that gives you like a 5% increase of like likelihood to open Alistair, which I think is huge for this deck. Like going from like 58% to 65%. So it's actually more like a 7% bump. Like that's pretty significant. And I felt like it was worth it to just like, you know, sometimes you'll just like open excess on like Terraforming and Meltdown. And like even then it's only bad if you open the Meltdown and the Terraforming together. If you open Terraforming and Alistair together, it's not terrible because sometimes you just really want to have the second Alistair. So yeah, no, I think Terraforming was a good idea. And then the last 2 cards I played that were spells were Foolish Burial and Upstart Goblin. Like, both self-explanatory. Foolish Burial is just nuts in this deck because it's just like you can grab like Damage Juggler, you can dump Hedgehog to add a Shaddoll, you can like you can even like dump Alistair for Invocation if you opened Invocation. It's nuts. So yeah. Yeah, that's all the spells. And the last 2 cards in the deck were 2 copies of Resh Shaddoll Incarnation. I was between 1 and 2 on this. I really like this card. I don't think it's bad to open because if you open it, it's Burst Rebirth. That doesn't cost 2,000 life points, which is kind of huge. Even less like if you have a Winda engraved, reviving Winda, like to me at first I thought it wasn't that good because like, oh, it's someone's in defense position, they're just gonna kill it. But that forces them to give up a battle phase, which means you're probably not dying. And then you put the Resh back in your hand. So like that play was a lot better than I gave it credit for. And then like I was always gonna run 1 because of the combo where you dump it with Construct. The thing that made me end up playing 2 of it was that the first thing is that I came up with a combo with the, or I didn't really come up with it. I realized that with the like the Light Wendy fusion spell combo, if you open specifically El Shaddoll Fusion to do that play, or if you already opened El Shaddoll Fusion, then with the second Resh you can end on El Shaddoll Fusion and Resh both set. So like you'll have the second Resh that you dumped, and you'll just have them both in your hand, and you should set both of them. That's just such a huge power play because you just get so much advantage off of that. The other thing is that sometimes if you just don't have any other Shaddoll you want to dump, you can just dump the second Resh, and it's just like always there, so you can just grab it when you need it. So I definitely think 2 of this was correct, so I'm glad I played it. Yeah, that's the main deck. The one card I didn't test that I wanted to was Paleozoic Dynamiscus, just because it's a spot removal card that also triggers Shaddoll effects because the discard doesn't cost. I didn't play it because I didn't have time to test it. I was testing a little bit of it like on my phone on the flight back, and honestly I don't really know how I feel about it. Obviously like a spot removal like that is really powerful, but it's not a combo piece, and this deck is a fusion deck. It really just needs like a lot of like combo pieces. And I don't know, sometimes like I draw hands where I'm like, oh yeah, I mean I have Dynamiscus, but either like I can't really discard for it, or I just like, or so I just don't want it right now, or like I don't know, like it's weird. I guess it depends on how prevalent stuff like Mystic Mind becomes, or like just problematic cards that you just have to out, because Dynamiscus is just such a strong out to so many things. So it might be something to look into. I was considering like, first I was considering just like cutting down like some of the like extra Shaddolls, and like I didn't really like that because like the Dynamiscus works best with the Shaddoll cards. And then like I could also cut down the Clowns, but I don't really like that either because I like the opening play with like Construct and shit. So I don't know, it's something I have to think about. If anything I might side it, I'm not sure. Alright, anyway, extra deck. I played 3 Construct. I decided to play 3 of it because I was playing the higher light count, and that play just does come up sometimes. The third construct didn't come up too often, but it did come up a couple times, enough to the point that I think it was justified to play 3 of her. But if you were playing a lower light count, I could understand only playing 2 of her, but I'm definitely glad to play 3 of her. She was really good. And then I played 1 App Cologne. 1 was all I ever needed, but she was really, really useful. I actually did a play where my opponent had Sleeper Last Resort with the Resort on board, and they'd spent all their interactions. So I Shaddoll fusioned with Squamata and Wendy into App Cologne, and then App Cologne negated Resort, Squamata dumped Dragon, and Dragon popped Last Resort, and I outed that board, which is great. Never really needed the second one, so yeah, this was fine. 2 Winda. This card's insane. I think as time has progressed, Winda's just become more and more broken. She probably should at least be limited. She could possibly be banned, but I don't know. The biggest thing with 2 Winda is that like having a Winda and then also all fusing into another Winda is just wild. So yeah, no, she's insane. And then for invokes, I played Makaba, Purgatrio, Ragin, and Caliga. I never needed more than 1 of any of these. So this was fine. Purgatrio, I was like kind of on the fence on, because in testing, I was like, it's not really coming up that much. Do I really need to like push for a game like that? I ended up putting it in because I kind of realized I was like, well, you know, if my opponent has a bunch of monsters, but there's not really a lot of like disruption, and I just want to like completely pick apart their board, I can. And it came up today, or during the tournament, so I'm glad I played it. Purgatrio was definitely useful. Ragin and Caliga are insane. Like, Ragin, when you just have the plays where you're able to make him, is just wild, and then Caliga is just part of the Winda Caliga combo. So yeah. And then Link monsters, I played Boral Sword, Cross Sheep, All Mirage, and then the last 2 cards in the extra deck are actually Unicorn and Masquerena. So for a while I was doing Appaloosa and Alistair, the Invoker of Madness. I ended up cutting Alistair because he has really crazy plays, but they are so resource intensive that like I just really didn't want to do them. Maybe I can revisit that now that I have a higher Shaddoll count, but like, man, those plays were like really, really taxing on the hand, so like I didn't want to do that. And they also left you really open in Nibiru, so I didn't want to do that either. But I went with Masquerena Unicorn because like I felt like the Appaloosa could be taxing on resources. It's not as much as Alistair, but like Appaloosa is a card where like after she's spent, you can't really do a lot with her. Masquerena was a card where like, you know, I can spot removal with the Unicorn, and then I can fuse away the Unicorn into Winda. And it is also kind of resource intensive, but that kind of synergy I liked about it. And I also like that if I didn't do that play on the first turn, I could do it in the middle of the game, and it was also just as threatening. So I think that's why I went with it. It definitely worked out really well, I feel. Another lane I could do is that I could cut them and put Appaloosa back in, but also put an Abyss Dweller, because the construct play with the Light and the Wendy, you could also just end on Appaloosa, and then you'll have like Trick Clown and Ariel to make Dweller with 2200 attack, which is wild. So I don't know, I might do that because that is also a really strong play. It's something I have to look into. This extra deck space in this deck is extremely tight. Like, you have to make cuts. Like, this deck needs like a 20 card extra deck. Just that there's so many things it can do. Alright. Yeah, that's the extra deck. So side deck, I played 3 Droll. I didn't want to play this because I only really like this against Spiral and like I guess Lunalight, which I didn't play against. And like it's okay against Hero too. So I mean, now that I'm saying it, I'm glad I played it because I don't know, Droll was nice. I just like personally don't really care for this card, but I acknowledge that in the current format it's really, really broken in the matchups where it's good. So definitely glad I played it. 3 Dark Ruler no more. I feel like you just have to, yeah, you have to play this card. Like it outs so many decks right now. It outs Spiral, it outs Hero, it outs if the mirror opens Winda Caliga, it outs that. You know, Dark Ruler no more is just really good right now. So I sided Super Poly. The reason I didn't main Super Poly is because I don't really like this card if I have to use my own cards to make it work. That was fine back when the deck first came out, and you know, like every deck in the format was a light deck. You know, like Dante, with Burning Abyss, and like Satellar Knight had like all their monsters were light, and then like obviously the mirror was a fucking blowout. Back then, like expending that resource made a lot of sense because boards were a lot less powerful back then. Now when, you know, like if I'm facing down like, you know, Sleeper and like Appaloosa and all this stuff, like the Super Poly is going to be really taxing at that point. And like I just didn't really want to play this card against like a deck where like I was only taking one of their cards and then I had to take like my own Shaddoll with it. So I decided it was better. Like I thought it was better to side it for just for the mirror because of that, or any matchup where I was like, wow, there's this monster that I just really need to get rid of. Like I sided it against Musket, and I think like if I had played it properly and like set it instead of holding it in my hand, I actually would have been fine in that matchup. But yeah, I don't really think I missed this card in the main. I think it was fine in the side, just because like it is a really costly card. If you're not fusing two of your opponent's monsters, it's really costly, I feel. So yeah, but it's an absolute blow in the mirror. So if I had run in the mirror, this 100% would have been in. 3 evenly matches also is just kind of good against everything right now. And then the last card I played was Pointer of the Red Lotus. So first, this was Dimensional Fissure, or not Dimensional Barrier, because that hoses the mirror. It hoses Hero. It also hoses Lunalight, kind of. And then I switched it to Different Dimension Ground because that hits all those matchups, and it also hits Spiral. And then I ultimately just went with a Pointer of the Red Lotus. So I was like, you know what? Dimension Ground, while good, kind of scares me because it also, like, if they screw me over for the turn, that kind of sucks. And then this, I can just rip the important card out of their hand. This was really good, but also I had a situation where my opponent opened double blowout, and like they opened Dark Ruler No More and Evenly, and I lost because I took out the Dark Ruler No More. He evenly me. I couldn't kill him, and then he Dark Rulered me on the next turn. So like that was always going to be a weakness of this card. Is that if your opponent opens 2 blowouts, then it just sucks. But yeah, this could be anything. Like I just wanted a card for going first mostly. Like so, like it could be Different Dimension Ground. I think that's like the most like generically useful one. If I were to not main Dynamiscus, I could see this becoming Dynamiscus. But Dynamiscus feels like a card like if I was to play it, I would probably just main it. So yeah, I don't know. It's stuff to think about. The one thing with Dynamiscus is that I was extremely weak to Mystic Mine, which thankfully I didn't run into at all. I kind of just accepted that if I ran into Mystic Mine, it was gonna suck. But I also accepted like if I ran into Mystic Mine, it's a team YCS, my friends could carry. So yeah. And yeah, that was the deck. Worked out really well. I really like it. I'm going to continue playing it for the format because it's a lot of fun. Assuming it doesn't get absolutely manhandled going into Master Rule 5, we'll probably keep playing it for that. Like I just love Shaddoll. Shaddoll is one of my favorite decks. I'm glad it's viable again. It's so fun. And like the new cards they added, like, you know, the Resh, Wendy, the Invoked Engine, like they all help the deck so much. So yeah. But yeah, that's the deck profile. Hopefully I'll do better at the next event. I think we're gonna try and go to YCS Charlotte. So we'll see how it goes there. We'll have dual overload by then, which means we'll have access to Needle Fiber or whatever the fuck it's called, Halka Fibrax. We're just gonna keep calling it Fiber. Yeah. So thanks for watching YouTube, and we'll see you next time.